In today's video, I want to show you guys how to manage your money, budget your income and expenses with Notion. Notion is a very powerful app that I've been using for the last 3 years, both in my business and in my personal life. Before we get into it, my name is Alice and I'm a chartered professional accountant and content creator. This video today is sponsored by Notion. Notion has launched the new Notion AI, which I'm super excited about personally because I use Notion so much in my business. The AI is integrated with GPT-4 and Claude. It can do everything from brainstorming, answering questions, and pulling fast facts. Now, I personally think one of the coolest features about AI in general is that you can use it to translate and summarize PDFs into data, which makes it excellent for data entry. You can upload a PDF of an invoice or a receipt, and it can automatically translate data into tables and columns and text without you having to type it out yourself. I think AI technology in general is going to be able to speed up a lot of manual accounting, bookkeeping, and data entry work. Notion AI is also really good at analyzing and summarizing data that you already have in Notion. So later in this video, I'm going to show you a couple of prompts that you can put into Notion AI that will help you with financial planning and budgeting. And if you use Notion in other parts of your life, such as your to-do list or your calendar, you can then use Notion AI to search up all of your databases and your tables to retrieve any information, tasks, or whatever other data you're looking for. If you use it for writing, you can ask Notion AI to rewrite sections or make revisions to what you've already written. For budgeting, Notion has some pretty good templates here, and that's what I'm going to be using today. If you look up budgeting in the search feature, you'll see that all of these ones here are pretty good. When you pick a template, the most important thing is you want to find a template that meets your goals and can help you visualize how you're going to get there. So if your immediate short-term financial goal is to pay off debts, then we want to make sure that the template has something to help you with paying off debts. If it's to save money, then we want to have a template that has a built-in saving tracker into it. If you're looking for something to manage your expenses and categorize all of your expenses, there's definitely templates in here that can really clearly lay out all of the different categories of expenses in a visual format. Now, the one I've chose today has a combination of everything that I've mentioned, which is why it's my favorite, but it has a savings tracker, an income and expense breakdown. You can see your personal P&L on a monthly basis. There's an area where you can write down all of your income as well as all of your expenses, and then you can categorize this view into quarters. And one thing that this template didn't have was a debt tracker. So I actually added in a table manually, and I'll show you guys the columns in a second that you want to add for a debt tracker. And then as a part of this table, I also added a debt visualization chart so you can visualize how close you are to paying off your debts and what debts you have left. Now, the first thing with any sort of money management tool is to start with income. So if you scroll down here, you can see a section for income, and basically the primary fields here are the source. So you just want to write down the source of which you got paid. So if it's from work, it would be paycheck one, $3,000, and then you can tag it based on any of the tags that they have here. So if this is a salary, regular salary payment, bonus, dividends, interest, side hustle, expense, whatever it is, I would personally put the expenses over onto this side. So I'm just going to put in some data in here. Let's say you get paid on the 15th and on the 31st. And how you know this is working is that when you scroll up to here, you will see the total savings, the income section populate. We haven't put in any expenses yet, but $6,000 here gets put up onto here. And then you can also see that the income breakdown has been filled out. Once we put in the expenses, we're going to be able to see savings and also an expense breakdown as well. So let's just say for the month of January, we had a bunch of expenses. What I would do here is I would take out your bank statements and your credit card statements and type out all of your expenses from both your bank statements and your credit cards. Whether you use your debit card to pay or your credit card to pay, you just want to make sure everything has been added here. So it's pretty simple. All you have to do is add new page, and this just gives you more data rows to work with. So for example, if we ate at a restaurant that was $39.99, we'd put that there. And then we would classify it as any of these tags. So in this example, it would be eating out or dining out. Now you can definitely add more tags onto this table if you would like, but these are the ones that are in here. And I also put in one for debt as well. So let's fill this out with a couple more expenses. Now, as you can see, as I am adding more expenses to the January expense column, these expenses are now being pulled into the total savings up here. So this is a great summary dashboard to visualize all of your inflows and your outflows. And this is basically what I personally call a personal P&L, right? Because personal income, because you have all of your income, all your expenses, and then the difference. And you can see here in the savings tracker that it's starting to map out the savings for the month. So in this example, if we had $6,000 of income and $1,000 of expenses, that's $5,000 in theory of savings. And you can see here $5,000 now being mapped out for January. So I'm going to add a couple more expenses, so this is a little bit more realistic. And you can see how the monthly savings was adjusted down to $2,500, which is what it shows up here. And this is your income breakdown. So right now it's just summarizing and categorizing 1 month, which is the $6,000. I really like this expense breakdown here because it breaks it down visually, which I'm personally a visual person when it comes to these things. So anytime something can be color coded, it really helps my brain conceptualize what these things are. So all of these categories here are basically being pulled from these tags down here and then moved into a color coordinated graph. And how you can adjust for the colors, if you're not finding that the colors are pulling up correctly, is to go into view options and change the color into colorful. The default may be blue, it may be whatever shows up, but I personally like to have it colorful because I like things color coded. When I was in school, anytime I wrote exams or I was studying, I would always be that person that vigorously color coded all of my notes, and I would have like all of these different highlighters of different colors. My brain just knew what each color meant. For expense breakdown, I really like that. And so I'm going to continue filling out a couple of these months of data to show you what this is going to look like once it's more populated. So we have rent for February, and then we have some restaurant expenses. The most accurate way to do this is to actually sit down and open up your online banking portal and take a look at all of the transactions that I've gone through rather than just guess or estimate. That's the most accurate way. Now, this is how we can use Notion AI. Earlier, when I was putting in the expenses, I was typing out everything manually. But the good thing about AI is that if you have receipts, invoices, or data that you want to enter quickly, we can now do it faster. And what we can do is we can upload invoices and receipts directly into Notion and have it scan the PDF or the JPEG, and it can actually categorize the data into columns for you. So for example, I found this invoice template online. It's just some sample data. So let's upload it into here and see how it can basically allow you to work a lot faster without having to do a ton of manual data entry. So I'm going to ask Notion AI, please put the data into a table. Nice, there you go. So as you can see, it basically allows you to work a lot faster when it comes to manual data entry. Anytime you do this, I would just recommend leaving out any sensitive information or financial data that you don't feel comfortable uploading. Now, as you can see, since I put in February, you can see the February savings now being populated onto this bar chart, which I really like because I like to visualize things like savings, expenses. I really like that there's a dashboard for the monthly P&L. And then I like how you can see all of the expenses and all of the income in a very clearly laid out format. So this is why I think this template is my personal favorite and why I think it will work for a lot of people because it's not overly complicated. It has just enough to stick to. So now that we have some data in our budget, let's run a few prompts to get Notion AI to analyze what we have in here. What is an adequate emergency fund based on my income and expenses? An adequate emergency fund for you might range for $14,572, 3 months of expenses to $29,145. Cool. We can also ask AI to categorize and summarize our expenses. So what was my biggest expense in January? Rent was the biggest expense in January. That's awesome. How much did I spend on restaurants in February? Based on my income and expenses, please advise on potential cost-saving opportunities. Reduce dining out expenses, review your car lease payment, analyze your debt repayments, set budget goals, increase savings. In January, you saved $950, which is a good start. Try to maintain or increase the savings rate to build your financial security. This is really good. Really, really good. How much do I have available to invest every month? A conservative estimate would be that you have between $200 and $500 available to invest. That definitely seems accurate based on what I put in here. Now, another great thing about Notion is that you can also download the app on your phone and basically see the exact same template as you would on your computer. So as you can see here, this is the personal finance tracker, the exact same one that we had on the screen. Income breakdown, expense breakdown. Again, it's all broken down by colors. You basically get the exact same view, except it's mobile optimized, and you can go into every month and have the view this way. Now, one thing I like about the mobile view app is you can actually click into the month and you can add in some notes if you want to. So you can, if you want to diarize what the month was like and what you did. I also paid a significant chunk off my debts this month. Now, whatever notes or reflections you want to add, you can definitely go monthly and leave comments there. Another thing I like about this template is that you can also break down things into quarterly views. So for example, let's say that we're partway through the year and you don't want to be seeing January expenses. Well, you can filter for the quarter that we're in currently. Right now, we don't have any expenses in October, November, December, but it makes things a little bit cleaner just by being able to see things by the quarter. But this is the January dashboard that we just had open in our computer. And as you can see here, it's pretty simple to add in new things on your phone as well. So it is both mobile friendly and computer friendly. Let's say we want to add something here. That's right, sushi restaurant. And then we can categorize it. And there you go. That's how you add expenses on your phone and how you can do this on the go. If you don't want to sit down with all of your credit cards and your statements at the end of the month and be punching everything one by one, which can be pretty time consuming. You just want to add things every couple of days or every time you make an expense. That's also another way to do it. And same here, the debt repayment plan. You can also make adjustments directly on mobile as well. You can scroll over and you can adjust the repayment plan if you want to. You can also, if you want to, add a section to take notes. So we can add a text section here. Let's just go fully text. Insert any notes here about paying off debts. Okay. And in terms of adding more categorization of more expenses, you can also go into each line item that you put in. So for example, if you wanted to make some notes on paycheck one, because let's say that you worked 80 hours this pay period. Those are some good notes to put in if you are on an hourly wage. Otherwise, if it's flat, you wouldn't have to put any notes there. But this might also be applicable to like freelancer work or additional income that you get. So for example, if you received some dividends and you wanted to put in some notes, you could write dividends from Bank of Nova Scotia, something like that. So it's just a great way to diarize and note take as you go along, in addition to being a visual as well as a mathematical tracker for your finances. Now, when I was going through the collection of templates For personal finance, I noticed that most of them don't have a built-in debt tracker. So I thought I would show you guys how I would build a debt tracker inside any template. So right at the bottom, all we need to do is add an inline table. So that just requires us to hit the backslash. And what we want is inline database. And you can see a new table has populated here. And we're just going to add a couple of columns. The first one is debtor name. We just want to know how to classify our debts by name. We're going to leave the tags. I want to add a column that allows us to see our current balance or the principal balance owing for the debts. So I'm going to add the plus button here, press the number. We're going to go principal amount. Under the number format, I'm going to change this to US dollars. And then I also want to add a column for the interest rates, because I think that's a good way to visualize what debts are a priority to pay off and which ones are not. So the plus button and then number again, interest rates. We're going to change this to percentage. I'm going to drag this tags over here. Now for classifying or categorizing your debts, there's a lot of different ways to do this. I think one thing that is probably a good thing to have is to put priority down. So basically you can type in whether this is a high priority debt, a medium priority debt, or a low priority debt. Those are the three categories that I think would be good to have on here. So let's fill this out. And let's say that we have credit card 1. Okay, the principal amount owing is $10,000. We have an interest rate of 25% on this credit card. The priority to pay this off is high. And then we can also put a column for repayment plan. So how much you plan to pay it off every month. We're also going to make that US dollars. So let's say you have a plan to pay this off, $500 every month. Let's organize this a little bit here. Repayment plan. Those are the main categories that you would generally need for your debts. Let's call this a debt repayment. And then let's go down here and type in something else like student loan. Say you owe $15,000 here. Say the interest rate is 5%. Student loan, lower interest. Maybe it's a lower priority. And let's say you want to pay that $300 a month. And then let's say we have a line of credit. Let's say we have $5,000 on that. Interest rate, say it's 8%. That is going to be a medium priority. And we plan to put $500 towards that. Maybe we're trying to do the snowball method of paying off debts, which is to go by smallest dollar amount first to largest. If you guys are interested in learning how to pay off your debts in a step-by-step format, I recommend you check out my video, which I'll leave up here. It really complements this section that I'm adding, except in that video I did it in Google, but I think it's definitely doable in Notion as well. And then one more thing I would add here is just a plus chart so that we can visualize this a little bit better. So let's see what options we have for visualizing this. So when we press the view options, we have the ability to change the x-axis or the y-axis. So it really just depends on what you think would help. I think this is nice, like having the debt names on the bottom so you can visualize how much debt you owe. A pretty simple way to visualize this data right here. And then the last thing that I would do is that, let's say that on a monthly basis, you plan to pay $1,300 off of your debts every month. Then what I would do is I would just go back on top here and I would add it here. And then this Notion dashboard is going to automatically categorize that debt as an expense. So when you go up to your P&L, it's going to be captured in the expense column. And so that's going to affect your savings chart accordingly, as well as your expense breakdown accordingly, which you can see the debt amount being showed right here. One thing I'll also add is that you have the ability to change this into quarters for any view, which is really nice because it keeps things really minimal. If you feel like having the entire year would be very cluttered, like this and like this, if we're in Q2 for the year. I hope you guys enjoyed this video today. Thank you again, Notion, for sponsoring this video. And if you liked this one, you're definitely gonna like my video on why you're still at your 9-to-5 job, where I talk about all of my personal reflections that I've had over the years that allowed me to achieve financial freedom and quit my job. So make sure you check out that video up top here if you're interested, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Until next time.